the teacher, the baker, the animal lover, the gardener, the world traveler, the piano player, the matriarch of the RIEGER clan, is now in heaven with the Lord and probably playing cribbage with her beloved husband.
We only get to occupy our chairs in this world for a short time. Sharon and I are fortunate. Our mother occupied her chair so long and so well. She was our first gift from God, and we have yet to know a more caring, thoughtful, giving, and kind person than our mom.
A few years ago, Craig, Vicki, and I took Mom to Disneyland for her birthday. We had a great time revisiting our old favorites, plus seeing the new attractions. One of those attractions was the World of Color Light and Fire Show at California Adventure. Visitors lined up hours ahead of time, and the place was packed. We had Mom in a wheelchair, so we were able to get her a front row seat, leaving us in the back. Halfway through the show, I went to check on Mom, and to my surprise, she was sharing her chair with a 5-year-old boy. He had gotten tired standing, couldn't see well, and somehow he ended up on her lap. Mom was in heaven. Mom loved all kids and came by her profession naturally. She was born to teach. We still run into her students who remember how fun she made it to learn. She adored her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And some of her most memorable days were when they came to visit. Craig and I know we had the best mom ever.
I have a special connection with animals. Great grandma had a cat named Annie that nobody could get close to, but I was able to go into her bedroom and pet the scaredy cat right away. She was amazed her cat let me get that close that quickly. Both great grandma and I loved animals, all animals. Like her other great grandchildren, I have a wonderful memories reading stories with her. My favorite story was, of course, about an animal, Harry the dirty dog. The story was a dog named Harry who didn't like baths. I didn't like baths much at that time either, so I think I identify with Harry.
As a child, it was great fun to search Grandma's house for dozens of small jars that had candy hiding in them. We didn't ask permission when we snuck a treat, but all was well if the lids were put back on, the jars were left in their correct place, and we didn't eat too many of Grandpa's aged orange slices. I confess, I did this same scavenger hunt every time I visited Grandma's house as a child, as a teenager, and as an adult. The jackpot of the scavenger hunt was the outside freezer with tins of homemade cookies. Soft persimmon cookies, chewy oatmeal cookies, and my favorite, her crunchy chocolate chip cookies. Grandma's baking magic had something to do with her trusty wooden spoon, her 1950s mixing bowl, and stirring in a lot of love. Over the years, Grandma shared with me how to make some of her special recipes: sourdough waffles, Chinese chicken wings, pecan rolls, jams, and of course, cookies. It has been a blessing to see my children cook with their great-grandma. Traditions and memories passed from one generation to the next.
Both Shirley and I have green thumbs. Her backyard is an awesome sight in early spring when the rose garden is in full bloom. Cymbidium orchids are ready to be cut, and the trumpet vines cover the fences. Whenever she came to visit, The first thing she wanted to see was my yard and find out what I had done since her last visit. I appreciated her kind comments about how beautiful our yard was. In 1988, Chuck and Shirley bought a 2-bedroom cabin in Big Bear. There, Shirley continued to exercise her green thumb, gardening in a more rustic environment, and creating rock pathways into the forest, much to the consternation of the Bureau of Land Management.
When I think of Grandma, I think of boysenberry jam and pickled string beans. I know, a weird combination. She made the best boysenberry jam from her own boysenberries and pickled string beans from her garden. The mystery of how she could create something at home I'd only seen at stores was amazing. Her treats became the standard that nothing else could compare to. A common refrain in our house was, "It's good, but it's not Grandma's," has been echoed for decades during breakfast and happy hours alike. Though the supply was limited, she always found a way to ensure an annual delivery, regardless of where we were living. Grandma's treats are a reminder of a deeper appreciation for her ability to nurture everyone around her, be it a kind ear, a warm hug, or a bite of something delicious.
In 1965, Dad took a position in Wiesbaden, Germany. We lived in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Mom adapted to washing in a laundromat, shopping several times a week because the refrigerator was so small, and living without a TV. Instead of television, we played games like Aggravation and Hearts. Mom enjoyed traveling, and monthly we spent a weekend exploring nearby towns. And every vacation we had adventures in a different country. She said that in many ways it was the best of times because the isolation and travel brought us together as a family. Somewhere in that apartment, Mom got bit by the travel bug. Mom and Dad continued to explore the world. After our return to Redlands, they traveled to 4 different continents and 29 different countries. Dad used to say that the only reason he was there was to handle the baggage and carry Mom's purse while she took copious notes. Her notes and their pictures fill over 30 trip albums with their travel memories. Mom also planned trips for her extended family. Craig, Vicky, Mark, and I got to travel with them back to Germany, to Maui, to Puerto Vallarta, and an Alaskan cruise for Dad's 80th birthday. Each trip had lots of cribbage, great food, and unforgettable memories. It was important to Mom to create travel memories for those she loved the most.
Growing up, the highlight of every year was our annual camping trip to Twin Lakes in the High Sierras. We weren't roughing it because Grandma and Grandpa had their large travel trailer and they had generously provided tent trailers for us and my aunt and her family. The days were spent playing in the forest with my sister Jenny and my cousins Scott and Ryan, fishing, hiking to the stream, or to High Alpine Lake. My favorite memories were the nightly campfires. We did family skits, made s'mores, and sang campfire songs. If you did not know my grandma well, you might be surprised to find out she was the life of the party, leading us in her signature song, Flamin' Mamie, and marching us around the campfires, McNamara's band.
Grandma always made me feel welcome. She'd hold my hand and listen intently as I caught her up on our comings and goings since our last visit. She never failed to ask about our pets, and we bonded over the love of our animals. Grandma would nod with a knowing smile and say something like, "Not everyone can appreciate and understand how important our furry friends are to our life."
Grandma's living room was large, perfectly appointed, with everything always in its place. and it was white. It was not the room designated for children to play in. But one holiday, my brother Scott and I, being banished from the family room where adults were watching a football game, invaded the white room. We littered every square inch of Grandma's perfect living room with tiny Legos, Nerf projectiles, and other toys. Suddenly, Grandma appeared in the entryway to the living room. Scott and I looked at each other and figured we were in big trouble. In her gentle yet serious way, she let us know it is time to clean up. And as she turned away, I saw her smile. Now, as a dad, if I had found such a mess in my perfect living room, I would be more than a little upset. But Grandma was the role model that showed me how to take challenges and difficulties in stride, and to remember that it was the people in my life that were truly important.
My great-grandma felt that she was too young to have great-grandchildren, and she didn't want to be called great-grandma. So we just called her Gigi. When I was at Gigi's house, one of my favorite activities was making cookies with her, just like my mom used to do. And going to the park with her, just like my mom used to do. And reading picture books with her, just like my mom used to do.
Sharon and I used to think our mom had obsessive-compulsive disorder. She was extremely organized. Everything had its proper place. The kitchen had to be cleaned before she went to bed. Schedules must be maintained. Perfection was not merely a goal, it was a standard to be achieved. Mom set the bar pretty high for us. Mom was also tenacious and feisty. Quit was not a word in her vocabulary. Her inner strength allowed her to lovingly take care of our father during his final years and got her through many serious medical issues. In her later years, Sharon and I would get frustrated when she wouldn't use her walker or wouldn't accept help that would save her time or reduce her pain. We would tell her she was being stubborn. Mom would respond, "I am not stubborn. I am determined and persistent." When my sister described Mom as stubborn to a geriatric doctor, the doctor said, "I don't have any patients that make it to their 90s without being at least a little stubborn." Today we think stubborn and feisty are good things, and being organized, maintaining schedules, and having high standards are good things too.
Holidays at Grandma's were special events. That was even more true at Thanksgiving. Grandma made the house festive, and the dining room was set with her finest. We feasted and told stories, ending with Grandma's homemade pumpkin, apple, and pecan pies, all with the flakiest crust you ever had. Pecan pie was my favorite. Grandma never skimped on the pecans, so every bite was perfection. As the family grew, we overflowed into the living room and moved to simpler place settings, but dinner was just as special. As Grandma's arthritis worsened, we treasured those handmade pies as a true labor of love. One year, several people forgot to save room for dessert after that delicious meal, and had to pass on the pie. While Grandma tried to hide her disappointment, I tried to hide my delight. "That means there's more for me," I whispered in her ear. I still remember her sweet smile and savoring her pies for breakfast well into the next week.
Mom was the most thoughtful and caring person I have ever known. It was much more than just the hand-picked thoughtful birthday card and anniversary card that arrived on time every year. When Craig and I first got married, Mom always went out of her way to make me feel loved and accepted. She found out my favorite perfume and regularly gave it to me for my birthday. She knew I liked See's candy and always brought me a box when they visited. She saw how much I loved how she decorated her home for every season and holiday, and that we had no decorations of our own. So, for our first Christmas, she gave us a box of decorations for every season and holiday. And she always asked me how my other family was doing because she knew how important they were to me. Soon, calling her mother-in-law just did not feel right. The qualifier in-law diminished our relationship. She was just Mom.
Grandma and I made a connection over music. She was a natural at the piano. She could figure out chords to anything. I played the guitar from an early age and was interested in learning how to play the piano. When we visited, she would take the time to give me lessons on her piano. Grandma helped me realize how important it is to expose children to music at an early age. Because of her, we now have a music area in our home. She reminded me how special it is to share music with our family and friends. When we play our piano, we think about her with love.
When Andy and I were dating, I remember Andy's grandma to be sweet, warm, and welcoming. I was a little jealous because my grandparents were back east and I didn't get to see them that often. Andy described his grandparents' house as his home away from home. After we were married, Grandma and I connected over teaching. She would always ask what grade I was teaching, how my class was, and what topics we were currently working on. She would share her teaching experiences, and I could tell she missed teaching and how much she loved children.
It is funny what you remember at times like this. Of course, we remember the big watershed moments like weddings, major birthdays, and anniversaries that create a gathering of the clan. But it is the little things we are remembering today. Sharon and I always brown bagged it. Mom made our lunch every day, and every lunch included a note. The note might have said, "Have a great day," "Love Mom," or just a smiley face. In high school, the note might have said, "Do well on your test," or "Have a good game." It really didn't matter what the note said. Every day, we got a reminder that we were loved. It was just a little thing. I drove to Southern California regularly to spend time with Mom. She appreciated the 24/7 company and the favorite meals I would fix for her. But she loved the special hot chocolate I made for her every morning with my secret ingredients. When Sharon visited Mom, she always made her special English tea with honey and cream. We loved delighting our mom with hot chocolate and tea. It was just a little thing. About 15 years ago, Sharon and I called Mom every night instead of weekly. The conversations were mostly just about our daily events. As we said goodnight, we reminded Mom how much we loved her. And we loved hearing her say, "I love you too." It was just a little thing. Special events are important, but the tapestry of our lives is made from single threads. When we think about our mom, we cherish the little things.
Great-Grandma's house was filled with fun and stories. Outside, I loved seeing her flowers and running in the yard. Inside, she and I played on the piano and sat close on the couch while she read aloud from favorite picture books she saved from her teaching days. I felt like I could pop out of the world into the bubble of Great-Grandma's warm and cozy house. It was always disappointing to leave. My siblings and I remember her with love when we read the picture books she gave to us.
Every summer, Jenny and I spent time in Southern California to visit our SoCal families. Our parents planned the trip to always end up in Redlands because we would return home calm and well-behaved. Grandma would plan our days. We'd go to Ford Park to feed the ducks. She would take us to a friend's home to swim. And we'd even go see a movie at the Fox Theater. On these stayovers, Grandma would make us our favorite meals like Chinese chicken wings, overstuffed burritos, and California chicken. It seemed like part of every meal included Grandma lovingly swiping my elbow off the table. Good manners and good behavior were important to Grandma.
As I have gone through the different stages in my life, I am lucky to have had the perfect role model, my mom. As a wife, Mom was a woman of faith who loved God and loved my dad. Mom told me that later in life, when they went to bed, Mom and Dad would kiss each other goodnight and say to each other, "You are the best thing that ever happened to me." I could always see how much Mom and Dad loved each other and were there for each other through life's challenges and blessings. As a mother, Mom loved me unconditionally and always made me feel special. She had faith in me that I could accomplish anything I wanted to do. Mom told me she thought I would be a great teacher, and when I was in 3rd grade, I told Mom I wanted to be a nurse. Mom supported my dream of becoming a nurse, and in the end, I became a nurse and a teacher. Because of Mom's example, I have always tried to be an advocate for my children and to support their dreams. Besides Craig and me, our mother was called Mom by many other people. As a grandmother, Mom always spoiled her 4 grandchildren and made them feel special. This continued even when they became adults. At Christmas, she gave each of them and their spouses their own hand-picked box of favorite See's candy. Like my mom, I love to spoil my grandchildren and to show them how special they are, which often includes buying them their favorite candy. The people we love become a part of who we are, and my mother will always be a big part of me.
Grandpa had a seemingly endless supply of one-liners, such as saying to his grandchildren, "You turkey," and several of his one-liners were inspired by Grandma. Like when we were playing a game of cribbage and Grandma would take her time, carefully deliberating her hand, Grandpa would say, "Come on, Lightning." Grandma would also take a long time saying goodbye when they were leaving a social event, and after waiting for her for 5 or more minutes, you could hear Grandpa's voice say, "Say goodnight, Shirley." Today, many of our family and friends still use this exact line when someone's taking too long to say goodbye. I imagine my grandma has been reunited with Grandpa in a long-awaited embrace. I imagine she is also visiting with friends and family that passed before her. And I imagine when it is time for them to leave, that Grandpa gets to say again, "Say goodnight, Shirley."
Our mother died in her home of 55 years, surrounded by her children. When she took her last breath, the room seemed to get dimmer, as did the world and our lives once her spark was gone. but we find comfort in the thought that she is now with our dad and with the Lord in a place we call heaven, without the challenges, discomfort, and pain of an aged body. Although we mourn Mom's passing, today we gather to celebrate her life. But Sharon and I are not saying goodbye to our mother. We choose to keep her with us every day, in our hearts and in our memory, to comfort, to teach, and to guide us from heaven as she did on earth.